Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to our Thursday evening training. From wherever you are joining us, maybe you are here on our continent of Africa or you are further afield in the diaspora. Let me give you a warm welcome and invite you to relax and sit back, spend the next 1 hour with us talking about our products and our business. As usual, our aim is to help you to position yourself so as to be able to better help those who come to you, either for the business, how to build their business opportunity, or how to provide the products that we have in our range to better their health or their grooming or their home care. So for those of you who probably are joining for the first time, it's a warm welcome. And just to introduce myself, my name is Betty Olo, a long-time Neolife distributor. And as I always say, very happy to have this opportunity to talk about our products and what they can do to assist those who come to us. So as you might have seen in your invite for today, I'll be speaking about cardiovascular health. That is the health of blood and blood circulatory system. So just to say that this is, of course, a very big topic and a very important one, not only to our health, but also because of the many challenges that we face in terms of lifestyle illnesses that affect us by interfering with our blood and blood circulatory system. So without further ado, let me get into it. The first point I wanted to make was just a general, maybe reminding you about our circulatory system and a few things about what it is about. So the first thing is that the blood circulatory system is also usually referred to as the cardiovascular system. It consists of the blood vessels, and the heart. So the heart, as you will probably be quite aware, is a pump, but it is made of muscle. So the muscles of the heart are responsible for pumping blood through the blood vessels to reach all the tissues of our bodies. And this organ is one that works throughout our lifetime. When it stops working, then we'll be declared dead. So a very, very essential organ for us. Then going on to say that the function of our circulatory system is to provide us with a transport system within the body so that the body can supply all its tissues with the nutritional needs it has, and also to carry the cellular byproducts from the tissues to the organs which are going to excrete or get rid of those byproducts. So a very essential system, because as you can imagine, especially for those who live in the cities, the transport system is a very essential system in a city. That is exactly the same with our blood circulatory system in our bodies. The blood vessels form an intensive network of elastic tubes and tubules, that is larger tubes and smaller tubes and very small tubes, which that network goes throughout the body. And it is within these tubes that the blood travels to all the tissues of our bodies. So the ones called arteries and arterioles and capillaries carry blood that is pumped from the heart to the tissues. And then we have the venous system, the veins and venules that carry blood from the tissues back to the heart. So one group of blood vessels carry blood from the heart to distribute it, and another, then it converts to another group that then carries the blood back to the heart, where it is going to once again be pumped, and the cycle goes on. So this pumping action of the heart ensures that blood flows in the arteries under pressure so that it can reach all of the body's tissues. So this blood is not just flowing sluggishly, it is actually flowing under pressure. And that is why maybe if you grew up on a farm like myself, you know that if there's an injury, let's say for an animal or even a person, if you cut an artery, the blood shoots out in a spray. But if you cut the venous system, the blood flows out more slowly. And that is because the pressure in the arteries is much higher, since the blood has just been pumped, and then the blood in the veins is not under so much pressure, because it is returning from the tissues back to the heart to be pumped once more. So then this pumping action, as I said, makes sure that the blood flows in the arteries under pressure, and the blood pressure is exerted on the walls of these tubes, just like if you can imagine, if you have a pump with what are these things called for sprinkling water, the pipes that you the tube, the green ones, what are they called?
Hose.
Yeah, like a hose pipe. Sorry, I just had a glitch there in my head, I think. So anyway, imagine water being pumped from a pump going through a hose pipe. It will be under high pressure close to the pump, but as it goes further and further away from the pump, the pressure eases. So that is the same. More is something that we can use to compare. Then I wanted to also mention that the blood pressure which is exerted has got a normal range. If it goes outside of this range, then we'll either say that the blood pressure is too high or the blood pressure is too low. And I'll come back to this issue, because one of the lifestyle illnesses that appears very much in the course of doing our business and also in our Q&As is the issue of abnormally high blood pressure. Occasionally, we do also get questions about low blood pressure. I also wanted to add there a final point of this section, that the kidneys also have a role to play in the blood circulatory system. It's not a major role, but it is an important role, because the kidney maintains the volume. It regulates the volume of blood. So the fluid component of blood is regulated by the kidney. It is the one that can either increase the volume or decrease it, because remember that the kidney is responsible for the salts and the fluids, and getting rid of excess fluids or retaining fluid when we don't have enough. So because of the kidneys work in our fluid system, it also in that way is participating in our blood circulatory system by regulating the amount or volume of blood in circulation. So then from there, I want to mention also some of the problem issues that we often hear being talked about. We can't talk about all of them, there are quite a number, but I wanted to mention a few that we commonly hear about. So one is when we speak of heart failure, what do we mean? So when we speak about heart failure, we don't mean that the heart has actually failed and it's no longer working. What we mean is that the heart is no longer working efficiently as a pump. So the pump is if you ever have used a pump, sometimes the pump is working well and pumping well, but it can also, maybe because of age or because of a fault in it, it might not be pumping well. So when we speak about heart failure, we are simply saying that the heart's ability to efficiently pump blood under the correct pressure to all parts of the body has diminished. So that means that kind of the heart is weak in its work. And one of the reasons why we recommend things like exercise is so that we can have a strong heart. Remember that the heart is a muscle, it's made of muscles. And these muscles work for a lifetime, from the day that you are, in fact, before even you are born, until the day we die, which means that we have to take care of this muscle, keep it in good condition. And the way to keep muscles in good condition is by working them. One of the ways the type of exercises that help our heart muscle to be stronger and healthier is what you call cardiovascular exercise. That is exercises like jogging, like maybe rapid walking fast, things like swimming. Anything that gives your heart increases your heart rate a bit means that your heart is now working hard and you are improving its ability to work well. So the more sedentary we are, the more we are risking our hearts becoming less efficient. and maybe eventually we can find ourselves with a failing heart. But there are many causes for failing hearts. It could be a problem with the way the heart is, the anatomy of the heart itself. It could be other reasons, maybe illnesses that people are suffering from. So it's not necessarily that it's a sedentary illness that's causing it. There can be other reasons. But what I wanted to say is just what heart failure is and what it is not. Then another term we hear about often is a heart attack. So when we speak about a heart attack, what we are referring to is that the blood flow to the heart has been interrupted, maybe due to a blockage in the blood vessels that supply the heart. So the heart, as I said, is a muscle, so it is also a tissue in the body, which means that although it is pumping blood, it also has its own blood supply. So if for one reason or another this blood supply is interrupted, that is when we say we have a heart attack. As I said, it can be due to a blockage in the blood vessels that supplies the heart. And it does not necessarily mean that if you have a heart attack, the heart has simply stopped and is not beating anymore. In fact, you can have a heart attack without any symptoms at all. But of course, it is an indicator that things are not good, and maybe your blood vessels are not as clear as they should be. Because if they are getting blocked, it means that the insides of the blood, the inner surface of the blood vessels has got plaque that is now interfering with the flow of blood. Then the last terminology I wanted to put here is what you may have heard of as cardiac arrest, maybe in TV programs and all this type of thing. So this is when the heart suddenly stops beating. So the TV programs or maybe the ones that speak about hospital are very fond of the drama of showing that the heart is now stopping, and then they start doing that with those stuff that they use to bring the heart back into beating. But this is usually a malfunction of the electrical impulses that regulate the heartbeat rhythm. So our heart beats rhythmically, as you may have been aware. Maybe if you are holding a child or you are a pet or something, you can feel through the ribs that the heart is beating in a rhythm. So this rhythm should be a correct one, but sometimes it can be interfered with by various things. And then then you have what we say is an irregular heartbeat. So when the heartbeat is irregular, is another sign that things are not okay in the blood. Then another very common term is high blood pressure, which is something that is almost like an epidemic amongst us now. And just to say a little bit about this, so normal blood pressure is around 120/80. So remember, there are usually two figures in the blood pressure. So normal is 120/80 or lower. But once you reach below 90/60, then it is considered to be abnormally low. So there is a range between 90/60, which is too low, to 120/80, which is the upper limit. So heightened blood pressure is usually a normal response to stress in our lives. So when we have periods of normal stress, maybe something has startled you or there is an emergency around you, one of the ways the body responds is to produce certain hormones like adrenaline and others, which will then cause the heart to increase its speed up its beating. It also causes the blood vessels to widen so that you increase the blood flow to your tissues, especially your muscles, because the body is preparing to deal with an emergency. And our bodies have evolved to deal with emergencies through rapid movement and quick thinking. So that is why we have that increase in blood pressure when there is an emergency. The problem comes when we have a chronic situation where the blood pressure is chronically abnormally high. And this means that the normal thing, which is that once the emergency is over, the hormones that were causing the heart to beat faster and the blood vessels to widen actually dissipate from our systems, and then the blood circulation, the heart can start beating more normally, and blood circulation can go back to normal. But when you have chronic high blood pressure, it means that we never go back to that normal. We are continuously in a state of emergency within our heart and circulatory system. And this means that there's going to be a wear and tear on our blood vessels themselves. And of course, as the blood vessels are getting damaged through this wear and tear of continuous emergency situation, the body is going to try to heal them, but the healing sometimes doesn't work out very well, especially if our diet is poor. Then we start having plaque forming in those in the blood vessels, and when plaque forms, plaque, if you can imagine, is like deposits that sort of like, I think of thick deposits that will be deposited on the inner surface of your blood vessels. What will happen when that occurs is that the blood vessels become narrower. And again, if you think about a pump, when it's pumping water through a wide hose pipe, the water will go very fast and very well. But if it is through a very narrow hose pipe, then the pump has to work harder because the hose pipe is narrow. But that also means that the pressure is very high. And what can eventually happen is that if there is a weak point, like a crack that had been forming in the hose pipe is going to burst or crack. And we can use that as an analogy for our own blood vessels. So chronic high blood pressure is a serious issue. I know that these days we take medication for it, and we just go on taking the medication indefinitely because we have become used to simply being diagnosed, and then we are put on the medication, and we keep on going back to refill the prescription until further notice. This is not a good idea, because although your blood pressure might go down, the problem which is causing it is still there and is still causing other problems that you might not be aware about. And that is why I highly recommend that we use the supplement and the lifestyle to resolve the root cause of the chronic high blood pressure itself. So what is the underlying cause of the chronic high blood pressure? There are a number of them. It does not mean that you have to have all of them in order to have this, but this is just to summarize what could be the underlying cause. One of them is a familial tendency. So, for example, people of African origin, people like most of us here on this call, have a higher risk of developing chronic high blood pressure at an earlier age. So maybe by the time we reach our 40s, we start noticing that our blood pressure is creeping above normal. Another underlying cause is aging. Once we reach the age of 65 and over, our blood vessels become less elastic. Remember, I said that the blood vessels are supposed to be elastic because then they are able to absorb the pressure from the blood that is flowing through them. But as they become more rigid or less flexible, then of course there will be damage, and that process of damaged blood vessels will start occurring. So age, of course, there's nothing we can do about aging, but there's nothing we can do about our familial tendencies. Let's say if we are of African origin, we just need to be aware that we are under higher risk of this and take the points. Remember, we say that genetics loads the gun, but it does not fire the gun. Our lifestyle is what fires the gun. So what we need to do is to be aware that even though we have a loaded gun for high blood pressure, we can actually make sure that that gun is not fired for many, many, many years until we are very well into our old age and ready to move on to the next stage. So other causes which are within our power to mitigate are chronic kidney disease is another one that can be. Remember, I said that the kidneys also play an important role in blood circulation. So if you have chronic kidney disease, it's going to contribute to chronic high blood pressure. If you have type 2 diabetes, it much increases your risk of developing chronic high blood pressure if you even have the pre-diabetes. And another item is obesity. If you have excessive unhealthy body fat, then it puts more pressure in our blood circulatory system, and eventually we can develop chronic abnormal high blood pressure. So all these points I've spoken about, the kidneys and the diabetes and the obesity, these are lifestyle problems which are linked to unhealthy lifestyle, which involve very prolonged periods of sitting. It involves maybe excessive alcohol use, poor dietary choices, and so on, and also chronic stress. So for the first two, the ethnicity, our ethnicity, we cannot change that. Our aging, we cannot change that, but definitely we can, by education and making good choices, avoid some of these lifestyle-related illnesses that can give us chronic high blood pressure. So once chronic high blood pressure develops, it can lead to other problems. And so for that reason, that is why, so for example, I mentioned earlier that the blood vessels can become quite narrow, which means that the heart has to work abnormally harder in order to do its job. And that is just to emphasize the importance of resolving this at the root cause as much as we are able. So then I wanted to mention a small section here. And if maybe sometimes I say a lot of things and you find that you don't know what you want to remember and what is actually crucial, this is the thing I want to select for today's training for you to remember. A lot of these illnesses are actually manifestation of the same problem. So when we speak about chronic kidney disease of various types, when we speak about diabetes, we speak about pre-diabetes, we speak about high blood pressure, and so on. They are manifestations of the same problem. Although they are treated as different and related things, they actually have the same root. They are the branches of the same rotten root system. And so maybe you have heard of this term metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome refers to a cluster of issues that give rise to heart diseases. Most of the heart diseases, they give rise to chronic high blood pressure. They give rise to stroke. They give rise to certain types of chronic kidney disease, the most common ones. And also they give rise to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So all these have the same roots, even though we speak about them as if they are different. So now let's go to the next thing, which is what brings about metabolic syndrome. So what is the root of this tree full of these lifestyle illnesses? The first one, as we said, is age. As we age, our body starts not being as elastic and so on. As we say, there's nothing we can do about that. The second thing is ethnicity. People of African origin are susceptible to chronic high blood pressure at an earlier age than the other ethnicities. We also have abdominal obesity, that is laying fat around our waist, and this is why when we speak about fat, we say the most dangerous fat is the one that lays around your waistline. As you notice that your waistline is becoming thicker, it is a warning signal that you are moving towards metabolic syndrome and that some of these illnesses are developing because fatty tissues are being laid on these important organs that are in our abdomen. So if you have fat around your hips, your legs, your arms, it's not as dangerous as if you have had fat on your belly around your waistline. Then the other root of these illnesses is if you have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, it is another one that drives these problems. So if you can think about things that you can do let's say you have a familial history of type 2 diabetes, or you have noticed that you are developing thickness around the waist, such as myself, for example, then I know that there is a problem and I cannot just ignore it. Because a lot of times when we talk about weight loss and so on, we are thinking more about how we want to look good, we want to be able to fit in clothes of a certain type and so on. But just remember that having a smaller waistline, remember I think I've mentioned before that your waistline should be half the measurement of your height. So for example, I'm 1.5 meters tall. My waistline should be half of that. So if we notice that it's starting to be out of line there, then it is a warning that we are now moving towards abdominal obesity, and abdominal obesity drives a lot of these lifestyle illnesses. So that is an important thing. And whenever we are thinking about all these different illnesses for ourselves, for our families, for those people who we are trying to educate or influence, this is what we should think about, that many of these problems, once we work on one, it is going to resolve others. So what can we do in order to mitigate against the metabolic syndrome? What can we do in order to avoid this or to help to, reverse it? And this is when we speak about a healthy lifestyle. This is what the healthy lifestyle is all about. It means a healthy diet which has got which is rich in nutrients and has got 80% minimally processed food. So it may not be 100%, but we can aim for around 80% of the food should be minimally processed. When we speak about minimally processed, we are speaking about food that if you look at it, you are able to recognize what it was made from. So for example, if you are eating your meat, you can see that it looks like the meat that you bought from the butcher. So you are able to tell that although it is now cooked, but you are able to recognize its origin. On the other hand, if you are eating a cake, you really can, of course, you know it comes out of flour that has been from a grain that has been milled. But by looking at it, you can see that it has been heavily processed. And a lot of time, if you're not making the cake yourself, there may have been preservatives and additives and colorants and all sorts of things in there. So that is the first thing we have here. Have a healthy, nutritious diet, mainly made of minimally processed food. This will include animal foods and animal products. It will include plant foods, fruits and vegetables, and so on. One of the biggest culprits is usually carbohydrates. Try to opt for carbohydrates that you can eat, which are minimally processed. Things like sweet potatoes, arrowroots, yams, cassava, all these are good, but remember, we need to keep them on the lower side. I was hearing Pascal was telling me about a person who is very fond of a certain flat bread that we like in East Africa, chapati. And of course, this is a favorite food of ours, but we have to know that most of the chapati that we make is from highly refined wheat flour. And maybe if we once in a while we want to make chapati, we should use whole grain flour, which is maybe the chapati will not be exactly like the one made from the highly refined flour, but it is better for you than the other one. So anyway, moving on to the next point of our healthy heart lifestyle, we need to exercise and include activity in our lifestyle. So you can, let's say we are exercising for 30 minutes every day or maybe 5 to 7 days a week. But remember, if you are exercising for 30 minutes, but you are sitting for the rest of the time and then going to bed, it is not enough. It is important to try to look for other ways to be active, maybe by doing your own chores, maybe by finding opportunities to walk at lunchtime or at other times. Just try to be creative about how to make your lifestyle more active, because exercise improves health and strengthens the heart. Exercise improves the health and the strength of our heart muscle. It also improves circulation and it helps to normalize our blood pressure. Exercise will also help to normalize blood sugar. That is something we always recommend when we speak about type 2 diabetes, that it is a useful thing after a meal. If you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, go for a walk after your meal so that you help to normalize your blood sugar. And then also another thing we can do another thing that exercise helps us with is to cope with and resolve stress. If you are having a stressful time, maybe you go for a quick walk or other types of exercise or activity. it helps to dissipate those stress hormones that can accumulate in our systems. And of course, exercise also helps us in maintaining healthy body weight. Here also just to mention that if you are making poor food choices, exercise is not going to cancel that out. You cannot eat unhealthy fattening food and then exercise and hope to lose weight. What we need to do is make good dietary choices, and then exercise helps us to maintain that healthy weight that we acquire. Next thing in the healthy lifestyle is to, as much as possible, safeguard your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We will have a topic of the importance of rest and sleep, but this is very, very, very important for health, heart health, and general health as well. Reduce harmful choices such as smoking, junk food, excessive alcohol use, and sedentary lifestyle. And then finally, also resolve and manage or eliminate stressors from your life as much as you are able. And then, of course, we have the Neolife products that will target this issue. Remember, we say that the Neolife supplements, together with good lifestyle choices, are the way to go in guarding ourselves or helping ourselves reverse these lifestyle illnesses. The first product in my list is omega-3 salmon oil, which helps to prevent the formation of plaque, which adheres to the inner surface of our blood vessels. And this helps to lower abnormally high blood pressure and helps to bring it back to normal. So omega-3 salmon oil, very important. Then we have lipotropic adjuncts, which is a group of vitamins that prevent the accumulation of harmful fat in the blood, and also work with omega-3 salmon oil in preventing the formation of plaque. Then we have next in the list garlic allium complex, which prevents the production of hormones that signal the body to constrict blood vessels. So garlic allium complex will also play a role in helping to lower the blood pressure and also to make the consistency of the blood healthier. Then we have coenzyme Q10, which supports efficient beating of the heart and thus reduces the incidence of heart problems. Then the other one that will assist in this range is magnesium complex, which also helps in regulating the heartbeat rhythm and also works against irregular heartbeat. So magnesium complex is the fifth one in the list. Then finally, I would also add there vitamin C complex or flavonoid complex, or both if you like. Helps to repair damaged tissues, including blood vessels. So vitamin C is very helpful in the healing and repairing of damaged membranes and vessels and so on. So those are the products that I would recommend for you to recommend to your clients who come to you with cardiovascular issues. It could be high blood pressure, it could be an irregular heartbeat, it could be maybe they've had a stroke, and so on. So those are the Neolife products recommendations. But remember, this goes hand in hand with those lifestyle points that I've made before that. So I see that my time is up. So allow me to thank you very much for having spent the Sorry about that. The system that just kicked me out when I was about to say goodbye and leave you. So let me say goodbye and say that I'm looking forward to being with you again next week when we shall be having another Q&A session. But for now, let me hand you over to Pascal, who is standing by to take you through the business section of today's session. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much, Betty. I think the product is the heart of our business. So if we take care of our products, our business grows. Last week, we spoke about prospecting. That is looking for people who are looking for the business, paying attention to the people around us, wherever we are, writing down new names to your list so that you can increase your list. And we also spoke about inviting people to have a look at the business. So today I want to share with you one skill that is important for our business, and it's called presenting the business. It's important for us to be able to present the business to new prospects or distributors. So, we need to know how to present the business to our prospects, but also to the prospects of our distributors. And why is that important? I read something that Eric Warren wrote in his book, that whoever holds the pen makes the most money. And from my experience, the better you become at presenting, the faster you are at doing the presentation, the faster your business will grow, because now you depend on yourself to be able to show the business to new people. A few things I want to mention about presenting the business. One is the importance of simplicity. It doesn't matter what works, it matters what duplicates. That simply means everything that you're doing in your business, can the people in your team do what you do? If they cannot do it, maybe you need to think again about what you do in your business. So it doesn't matter what works, it matters what duplicates. Second thing, enthusiasm. It's very important to be enthusiastic about our business. I recall when Betty and I started the business, we used to travel quite a bit, and one time we traveled from here to Lesotho to do a presentation. We did a presentation and finished, and one of our friends joined the business, and he said, "You know, Pascal, I didn't join the business because I understood what you said. I joined the business because you are excited." So enthusiasm goes a long way to help us grow the business. Then develop belief and faith. Belief simply means that you can do it. Faith means that if others can do it, so can you. So develop the belief in your business. And then learning how to invite prospects. Something else about presenting the business that is very important. Presenting the business, you can do it in many ways. One, you can do it one-on-one presentation. That means you meet a prospect and you talk face-to-face, one-to-one. Or you can do a 2-to-1 presentation. That means one of your team members is with you and you're showing the business to a prospect. This is mostly either it's your upline who is experienced, or you're doing it for your downline and because you're more experienced. Then you have a group presentation where somebody experienced is presenting the business to a big number of people. It could be 5, it could be 6, it could be 60, it could be 100. Another way to present the business is to send them a presentation on video format. That's another way to present the business. That is taking advantage of the system to use tools. A few things to remember when you're presenting the business. Remember, you are not the message, you are the messenger. It simply means your job is to transfer information to the prospect. You are the messenger, not the message. That means use third-party tools, use somebody experienced to show the business on your behalf, CDs, videos, magazines, leaflets. These are the messages that you need to pass to your prospects. Second thing, learn to tell your story in a compelling way that makes your prospects want to hear more. Why is that important? Because the prospects should come to the conclusion that if Pascal can do this thing, I also can do it. If Jane was in the position I was when they started the business, and I'm also in that position, I can also do the business. I think on Monday we had a fantastic testimony from Mr. Muhumuza, a Walter member Muhumuza from Uganda. And he showed his photo when he was a student. And his photo now, it's a remarkable transformation. If a prospect sees that, they say, if Mr. Muhumuza can succeed, so can I. So it's very important that you learn to tell your story that is very compelling. And then learn to do the standard Neolife presentation and prepare and practice. I think the reason why Charlie Bolton's business grew very, very quickly and very fast is that when we started the business, we used to have speaker training, and we would present the business in exactly the same format, no changes. The numbers were the same, the figures were the same, even the jokes that we used to have for presentations were the same. So learn to do the Neolife presentation as closely as possible to what your leaders present. This increases your chances of your business growing. Why? Because now duplication begins to occur. Now, how to present your business? What are the key 4 areas of a business presentation that you need to look at? If you're a guest or if you're a distributor, next time there's a presentation, either by Zoom or by a speaker standing on a board drawing charts, pay attention to the structure and the format of the presentation. The first part of the presentation is always the ID. What does that mean? ID is your identification, telling your story. The reason why you tell your story is so that you can connect emotionally to your prospects. That is very important. So learn to identify yourself. What is your name? What were you doing before you joined the business? How did you come to join the business? What happens when you join the business? What have you benefited, either in products or in the income that you've earned from the business? And then call to action. Call to action simply means you invite people to do what you're doing yourself, and explaining how the future looks like. That is your ID. So that's the first part of the presentation. The next part of the presentation is develop the need and the Neolife difference. What is the Neolife difference? High quality product, high quality consumable products, longevity, experience, and world-class infrastructure, compensation plan, the support, the research, the back office, the training. All these are things or the Neolife differences that we have in our business. The need is, why do people need to join the business? Why is it very risky to depend on a job all the time? Because one day your employer will come, because of what has happened in the USA about the new administration cutting down funding for US aid around the world. A lot of people who are depending on jobs from US aid have lost their jobs. So if you have a job, it's a risky thing because anything can change. Then self-employment, why is it risky? It's good because you can earn money, but it's risky because the business tends to depend on you. If you're not there physically, nothing happens. Third, big business. Fourth, investments. You're developing the need of the person who is listening to the presentation, and it should lead them to the conclusion that I need this business. That is how you develop the need. The third part of the presentation is the logic. What does that mean? How the business works. The 3 things we do to grow our business, the 3 success habits. 1, using the products. Everybody needs to use the product in this business. 2, sharing the business and the product. It simply means you introduce other people to be users and promoters of the products. And then the third part is the personal development. This is part of the daily activity that each distributor needs to get involved in to grow their business. That is what the logic is. That is how people generate income, building a network of people who use and promote the products. That is what the logic of the business is. And then the last part of the presentation is call to action. Call to action simply means you need to invite the prospect to make a decision. Going back to the person who invited them, telling them what is required to succeed. They need to have a dream. They need to be patient. They need to have courage and guts. They need to be teachable. Those are the things that calls them to action to make a decision to start the business. So these are the 4 parts, the structured part of a business opportunity presentations. I would recommend to all of you, get a copy of the presentation, then practice. Even if you practice alone at home, I remember when Betty and I started, the first presentation I did at the back of an old calendar, and I explained the business. She didn't understand the thing. She said, if I was a prospect, I wouldn't join the business. I didn't understand what you said. But I kept practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. The key to excellence, practice. You have to practice to do the presentation. Once you've shown the prospect the business, the next thing is to follow up. Why is follow up very important? Because very few people make a decision on the spot. Most prospects, you have to follow up a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, 2 years. Some you can follow up to 10 years. So do not cancel anybody out. Do not just say, okay, this guy is not interested. Just tell them, okay, maybe the business, this is not the right time for you, but can I call you in 3 months? Can I call you in a month's time? Can I call you in 6 months' time? And write the date on your diary so that when the date comes, you give them a call. All right? So, what is the goal of the follow-up? The goal of our business is to educate the prospects on what our business is. It is not to convince them. In fact, you will convince people by what you say rather than trying to force them to agree with what you're saying. If you are convinced and convicted about the business, your prospects will sense. They will know. So the goal is to educate and give information to the prospects. 2, you need to act as a consultant. What do I mean by that? You need to act as a consultant by, I would say, training the prospects to see the business, training the prospects to see the value of the business. Don't act as a salesperson. Act as a consultant by asking questions. In fact, that takes me to number 3. The most important thing you can do in our business is to ask the right questions to reveal the thinking of the prospect. Ask the right question. For example, if you are speaking with John and John wants to join the business, ask a question like, John, what level of income would it make it worthwhile for you to look at the business or to join the business? Then they will tell you. Next question. Let me say, John said, if I can earn an extra $1,000 a month, I would be happy. Next question. John, to earn $1,000 a month in this business, how much time are you willing to put per week to build it? You see, you're asking those questions so that the prospect is the one who has to respond with their idea, not yours. If a prospect says that I want to put 1 hour per week to earn $1,000, then you tell them politely, well, I don't think that will be possible because it takes a bit of more time than 1 hour per week to build a business so that you earn $1,000 a month. Okay? The next thing is, remember, people don't say yes immediately. The average person needs 4 to 6 exposures before they join. Some even 10 exposures before they join. Why? Because people are not trained to make decisions quickly. So, have a very simple system of following up. If John is in your list, you've shown them the business. The first time you speak to them, just put there spoken to him the first time. Then tell John, can we speak next week around this time, or can we speak in 2 days' time for me to give you time to think about the information you've seen or you've had. Then you call them the next time. So remember, exposures 4 to 6 times is the average period. Then the other thing is handling objections. You will come across so many types of objections. One, I don't have time, or I don't have enough money, or is this a pyramid scheme, or I've seen so-and-so who started the business and never succeeded. All these things, you will always hear them. There's nothing new under the sun. Objections can be divided only to 2 issues. One, is a limiting belief in themselves. The prospects does not believe that they can actually become successful. That's the first one. The second one, limiting belief in network marketing as a profession. And I think most of the reason is they don't understand it. This business is simple, but because it's simple, it doesn't mean a lot of people understand it. People are used to it. In fact, I find it very funny that here in South Africa, there are some people who are asked to go and look for 100,000 rand, 200,000 rand to put in an investment, and the money disappeared. People are willing to look for a lot of money to join something which will not give them income. But if you tell them in this business you need $50, $60 to start a global business, they don't see the potential of the business. So the objections can be split into two: one, limiting beliefs; two, limiting beliefs in the industry. The first one, limiting beliefs in themselves as people, and the limiting beliefs in the industry. A very important thing about prospects is this: don't argue with your prospect. Affirm their concerns. For example, a prospect tells you, oh, this is a pyramid scheme. Instead of saying, no, this is not a pyramid scheme, maybe you need to ask them, what do you understand by a pyramid scheme? Then they will explain to you what they think a pyramid scheme is. And then you correct them and say, I think that is not really what our business is. In our business, we actually move products from the company to different consumers. And in any case, a pyramid scheme is illegal. Our business has been operating since 1958. If it was illegal, it should have been shut down a long time ago. Okay, so do not argue with the prospect, listen to them and address their concerns. Then the last thing I would like to share with you is people skills. Last week, we addressed some issues that are important when dealing with people. One is that you need to be genuinely concerned about people. Two, do not criticize people easily. If you criticize people easily, people will avoid you. Today, I want to speak about 3 skills that you need to develop if you want to win friends and influence people. The first one, you need to be genuinely interested in people. Do not be interesting, be interested. It simply means you need to be interested in what people are thinking, saying, or doing. That means you are interested in the person, and the best way to do that is to ask questions. What do you do? Do you have a family? What is your dream? What do you like to do? You ask not close-end questions, but open-ended. A question that requires explanation. For example, when you ask a question, do you want to be rich? That question is the person will answer yes or no. If you ask somebody, what do you do? It means they have to go through an explanation. Oh, I'm a salesperson. Oh, I run a business. Okay? So learn to ask the right question. Be interested in people, not interesting. Because remember, the best topic in anybody's life is themselves. So be genuinely interested in people. The next thing is smile. This is so simple. In fact, tomorrow I would recommend to all of you, if you leave the house, you're walking in the streets or in the town, just look at a stranger and smile at them and see what happens. If you smile at somebody, they're likely to smile back at you and be curious to find out why you're smiling at them. Smiling is very disarming. It's very important for our business. Remember, people are looking for something exciting they want to join. So smiling is very easy, but we need to do it consciously. Very simple thing, smiling. At our church, there's an elderly lady who, the first time we met, she asked me how are you, and I replied to her, "Oh, I'm better than good and better than most." And she burst out laughing. Every time she sees me, she actually expecting that greeting, better than good and better than most, and she is so fascinated by it. Why? I don't know. Maybe she doesn't hear that very often. So I suggest that you learn how to smile in your home, in the streets, when you meet people. In fact, when you smile, you'll find that you'll attract more people to yourself than if you frown. And the third thing is remember people's names. This was a challenge for me for a very long time, remembering people's names. A very simple way to remember people's name is to repeat it immediately you're introduced. For example, I meet Jane Anyona, and I say, "Oh, my name is Pascal. What's your name?" They tell me, "Oh, my name is Jane Anyona." The next sentence, use their name in a conversation. "By the way, Jane, what do you do?" Then they'll say, "Oh, I do a such and such. I'm running a business." "And Jane, where do you come from?" You see, when you use their name 3, 4, or 5 or 6 times in the first meeting, their name is likely to stick in your mind. The next thing you need to do to remember people's name is link their name with something which is very simple. Okay? For example, Peter. You meet somebody called Peter, or you meet somebody called, let's say Peter. Then you link Peter with something that is very easy to remember. For example, Peter was one of the apostles of Jesus. So think about Jesus, think about Peter. So use reference pegs to try and remember people's names, because the most important, the sweetest thing about that comes to their ear is their name. So 3 things to build good friendship. 1, be genuinely interested in people, not interesting. Interested in people. 2, smile. And number 3, remember people's names. The more you remember people's name, the easier conversation is going to be, the more friendly they will act towards you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending the last 1 hour with Betty and myself. I hope that what we've shared with you will help you grow your business to the next level. We are just approaching the middle of March, so keep up the good work that all of you are doing in the field. Very many people are looking for this Neolife message in the products or in the business opportunity. Thank you and good night.